Hello, everybody. Welcome to Adaptable Entrepreneurs, where we talk about using technology and your brain to adapt your business to different stages of your life. Tonight, I have the guest Tab Pierce, who is the author of Upsurge. I need to make sure I get the rest of it right. Upsurge, Wreckage to Triumph, Rebuilding Your Personal and Business Life. Tab, I love it because my book that's coming out is Disrupt Your Life, the Successful Entrepreneur's Guide to Reimagining Your Business and Life. So we're kind of coming at the same thing from different angles.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But I want you to introduce yourself and tell them a bit about your background.
Well, first, you said the word brains. You didn't tell me that I had to have a brain to be here.
Well, I don't have half of mine. So maybe between the two of us, we have a whole one.
Yeah. So give you a quick background. So serial entrepreneur. I've owned. I used to keep track, and I used to be able to go this. I just can't anymore. I've owned so many businesses. Owned two businesses. Caliber Security Partners, cybersecurity firm, been around for over 10 years.
Oh.
And then my new one, Refiners, I shouldn't say too new, it's probably 18 months old.
Okay.
And that's a peer-to-peer networking business that where business owners help business owners. And then people say, what do I do personally? I say I work, and then I go over my companies because it seems to be what I do all the time is work.
Yeah. Well, and I think Refiners is where I first noticed you, probably like you posted about the conference that you have coming up. Tell them about that. Do you still have the deal for half price?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Tell them about that.
So, you mean tell you about the Refiners or the deal or both?
I want you to tell them about the conference and the deal they can get, and then we can get into Refiners itself.
So, I'll tell you about the conference.
Yeah.
I'm not a conference expert.
Well, that's going to make it better.
Well, it was Steve Sims who said, "How many conferences have you done?" And I said, "Let me count. It's technically this is. Can I count this one? Because if I count this one, I've done one.
Yeah.
But it started off being small, and then I. Brought in Naveen Jain, who I've gotten to know over the years. He lives up in the Northwest in Seattle, where I do. Mm-hmm. Started adding people, and it flushed out to be about 14 people over 2 days. Obviously, Steve Sims is one of the speakers. Naveen Jain,
my mentor.
Yeah, several others, and it's going to be really pretty cool, just having these people talk about different their areas of expertise, their domains of expertise. And so we've got a lot. There's a guy named Bill Flynn who wrote a book called Further Faster about growth. Another guy, Keith Johnson, who wrote a book called, he's got two. The first one I read was 0 to 60,000 or 60 million. Which is a small book, but really good. And then the one I'm reading right now. It's called A Garage Full of Ferraris, which is which sounds like really cool, but it is. But it's about how do you have a leadership team that mimics Ferrari. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we got.
Imagine that it was about making enough money to have a garage full.
Oh yeah, well maybe, but I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
But and then one of them is a guy that I just absolutely love. His name's Mike Bosworth, one of the most famous sales trainers there has been. Wrote a book called Customer Centric Selling.
Yeah.
One called Solution Selling, and his latest is What Great Salespeople Do. And he's become a personal friend of mine over the years.
I don't know him, but I'm well aware of him. So that's really cool.
He's phenomenal. He lives in Orcas Island up here, and unfortunately, because of COVID, I don't get to go up and see him as much as I used to. But I'd go up there and have lunch with him, and it was just like absorbing a massive amount. Of
isn't it so awesome to be around other people that think like you but differently, and being able to just absorb that energy but bounce ideas off each other?
And the older I get, again, like my walker out, the older I get,
Well, I'm 59, Tab. I bet you're not any older than I am.
Oh man, you know what? You make me feel young. I'm 56.
Oh my God!
It's the same thing.
Yeah, really. So look, here we are.
I know.
You know what? I'm like, I don't care who knows how old I am, because a lot of y'all younger people act more crotchety and grumpy than I do. So
here's the deal. I may be 56, but I got my hair. So
oh yes, you do.
So
My husband, he's gonna kill me for telling y'all, but he's turning 74 Sunday, and he has a whole head of hair. So whenever he fusses about, I'm old. I'm like, you have a whole head of hair, and
you got hair, buddy.
You've got everything. Oh, and an awesome wife. You've got everything any man would ever want. So shut up.
So we did this. So we got this conference, and it's really cool. We got all these great people coming in, but
I'm sorry, Tab. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm very sorry. Do you know Brandon Straza? He said yes to hair.
I know. I see that right there, man. I was like, I kind of.
Brandon he's always hair is wild looking. So I'm very sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
Well, okay.
So anyway, so we're doing this before the event networking. We're going to break out into different rooms so people can have a chance to network. And just because I thought 6.5 hours on a Friday night Friday isn't enough. We added a concert to it, which is really excited. So if anybody has never seen the Spasmatics, they're a cover band, but it's all under the persona of Revenge of the Nerds. So these guys are just phenomenal, and they used to do it every Friday night, where they would do what's called Homeageddon, because they were locked up, and they would do a concert. Now it's every other Friday. So if anybody wants to find me on a Friday night twice a month, it's watching the Spasmatics on YouTube.
Oh, that is so cool. So they've been doing live concerts on YouTube.
Yeah, so they know how to do all this stuff. So it's gonna be awesome. So
that is gonna be a blast.
Yeah, and so we one of our people created a 50% off discount code link, whatever it is. I guess it's a link. And I was at
link to the code, but whatever.
Yeah. At first I was kind of like, I don't know that I want to use that. And then I started giving it out to people, and people started giving it out to people, and pretty soon, that's the new price.
Well, and the thing is, it gives an incentive for people to go on and buy, because everybody's like me. I wait till the last minute, because I'm like, something might come up, or I'm just too busy. But when you have a great 50% discount, you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to go do it.
And this is going to sound like a sales ploy, and it's not. I've been trying to get them to shut that stupid thing down for a week, because I'm like, we got people that are paying full price, and I don't necessarily want them to find out that there's a 50% discount.
Yeah, I understand. And I've had things like that. I totally understand that. If anybody comes and, because you feel like, the earlier people should have gotten. If anybody comes and says anything, you can do something nice for them. You can
exactly, and which is what we're gonna do. But right now it's still live. So I don't know, anybody that wants it can, DM me, or I don't know. I don't have it handy to post.
I don't think it was a code. I think, because I'm looking at the post.
No, it's a link.
And I shared. Yeah, so it's just a link to your site. And at the top it said the full price, but if you scroll down, it had the actual price was half.
We actually fixed it, so it has the new price in the top of it, because my son was like, my youngest son got a hold of me and flipped me crap. And I was like, okay, I didn't even know it was there. So
look, when you switch it back to the full price, like the early bird discount is done, remember to change that thing.
Yeah, seriously. Because the refinersconference.com still has the original price. It's the discount link that has the discount price fixed. Okay. So
Well, I'm really excited about it. I got it, and but like I said, I would have put it off until the last minute, because that's just how I am. And this way, I'll at least know you have another ticket sold. So,
yeah, and I appreciate that.
anybody out there, if you're having an event, do something that gets people to go on and buy, because y'all know you put it off. Everybody does.
Well, and here's the thing: anybody who wants to sign up, let's say within I don't know, whatever. I'll give them a copy of David Metzler's book, and I'll give them a copy of mine on both of them in PDF if they care. But David's pretty excited about that. Yeah, we bought 600 of his books. I don't know how they tell that, because they send me a link and I'm like, okay, but I've got a bunch of them, so we're going to give some of those away.
That's awesome. That's great to know. Yeah, you sent me yours, which I've not downloaded yet because I haven't had time to read it. I'm going to get it. You just sent it to me the other night, but yes, I'm going to get it. Yeah, I'm excited about getting David's too. All right.
And hey, here's one other thing. If it like I'll only do it for like 5 people or so, because I only have so many of them. But I'll give people my Audible book as well.
Oh, okay. All right, y'all.
I got free links, so it doesn't cost me anything.
So how do they get it though? Okay.
Well, my book. Well, it's
how do they take advantage of this deal? They go to Refine.
If they like DM me on Facebook, right? Okay. There's 2 Tab Pierces. There's the one dude that's kind of ugly, and then there's me.
There's awesome Tab
I don't remember. What's that?
There's the awesome Tab Pierce.
Yeah.
Hello, y'all. Look for the head of hair and the awesome hot guy, and that's the right one, right?
Yeah, there's a whole other story about how I found out that about the other Tab Pierce, but that'll be another day.
Porn star.
What's that? No. But I will just say we found out that I was named. I told him I was named after an actor named Tab Hunter. You may remember. I don't know if you know that, but there was an actor, Tab Hunter. He was named after a tab of acid. So I win.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So I was like, dude, feel free to steal mine. Feel free to take mine.
He must be younger than us if he was Tab of acid, because
he is.
Because his parents had to have been like probably maybe 10 years older than us.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've told them about the conference, I want you to back up and tell us about your background and what caused you to write this book, Upsurge.
Yeah. So, life just comes at you, right? And I like I said, Caliber Security Partners, the company had been around for about 4.5, 5 years, and we were doing great. Revenue was at the highest level it's ever been. I think at the time we had 18 employees, 20 employees, something like that. We were doing great. And we just kind of had a series of events that kind of happened. And, it was, a contract that was supposed to come in for eight of our people that ultimately didn't come in. Mm-hmm. It was a division or a small group in our company that wasn't functioning well. And all these things kind of collided, and we made some seriously bad mistakes. One of them was, and I've talked about a hard money lender, and people are like, they're not bad. And I'm like, well, for me, it was bad. And it was, the interest rate was high. It was unsecured. And when all of this flushed out, we were $750,000 in debt.
Oh my God!
Which, if you're a big company, you're like, chump change.
But not when you're us.
If you're me, you're like, it was a big deal, and it sent me into this just deep level of depression, of vulnerability, doubt. I was like, man, I'm just a fraud. I'm a fake. I suck. And there's just all this stuff, just like all these emotions just kind of coming down on me. And
it's like a whirlpool.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it keeps going deeper and deeper. And it's just such
And so I would just sit I'd come home from work. If it was a weekend, I would just sit in this chair and I would just think. And when you're going through something like that, you never go, you know what? When I come out of this, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be so much stronger, so much better. Instead, you're like, I'm this, I'm horrible, I'm that. And out of that 750,000, about $250,000 was to the IRS.
Oh my God.
So,
worse.
well, and so, you know, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, Wesley Snipes went to jail for this.
Yeah,
Well, he didn't go to jail for that, but that doesn't matter because you get all these thoughts running through your head and you're like, I'm going to jail, you know, and
you're not like Willie Nelson. You can't just do an album for the IRS.
Yeah. So, but you know, then that was on a Saturday, and then that Monday I'd gotten a hold of my attorney, and he's like, it's not the same thing. They're not going to put you in jail. They want their money. They're not going to get their money from you if you're in jail. Okay. But people would say, you know, you should just close your doors, file bankruptcy, start over, get a job, whatever. And the reason why I did, and people are like, oh, you know, it's really cool that you powered through it. I powered through it because I owed $250,000 to the IRS, and it was the best way I had to pay it back.
Yeah.
And and the book, to get back to that question, because I'm going to get there sooner or later, because you said, what about the book?
Well, no, I like to hear all the stuff in the background. That's where the real deal is, you know?
Yeah. So I wrote this chapter about thoughts, because I was like, you know, just like everybody, like 1 minute I'm having this, like, I'm this horrible person. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, you know, I'm not that bad, you know, like, or 5 seconds later, or whatever. And I was like, so I wrote this, it's funny because I coined this, I pinned this letter to myself from like Happy Tab, because I hadn't seen him for 2 weeks. And I almost didn't put it in the book because it was so corny. But I was like, no, you know what? That needs to go. All of this just needs to go in there, because people need to see just like the whole thing. And just,
because that's what they might do. They have to understand that they're normal. Yeah.
And so I had all this, you know, so I wrote this chapter. It wasn't even a chapter. It was really just kind of like a thing to me, this whole, and it was about 3,000 words or so. And I jokingly, because my sense of humor is weird, I just went chapter 1, and I just kind of put it away. And then later on, I wrote a chapter about, it was another, again, like a paper to myself. And it was like, it was about this need to like, just like keep the fires burning, just to keep, you know, keep stoking it, because that wasn't where I was feeling it. I was feeling like I wanted to stop, but I kept like, stoke it. So I wrote this chapter called Burn Baby Burn. And I said chapter 2. And then I think it was on my way to work. I went, I think I'm writing a book. And it was, so the first 2 chapters, which aren't the first 2 chapters in the book, but the first 2 chapters I wrote, didn't come about until, you know, later. But those were like, so I didn't plan on it, but the book starts, you know, a lot of the book starts out when I was in like a really, really bad place, and I was writing to give me hope, not for anybody else, but to give me hope.
Basically journaling, kind of.
It was like journaling in a form of writing a book.
Right. Journaling as chapters. Yeah.
And then the last chapter, I think it's the last chapter. I haven't read my book in a while. I probably should. It's called Being a Healthy Narcissist. And it's about like, you know, just about this like deep conviction that you have to have in yourself, this deep belief and feeling like just how great you are. But the healthy part of it is pulling everybody up along the way. Like, you know just how great you are, but that you're gonna pull everybody else up because they're just as great too. They just don't know it. And it's funny because out of everything I caught flack on, it's the title of it, The Healthy Narcissist. People are like, oh, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, I didn't coin the term. I didn't make it up. But anyway, so this whole thing was this like experience that I had of going through it, and just really, you know, I talk about this experience, and most of the time I talk about it, I have this smile on my face, and I've had people go like, how can you tell the story and be happy? It's because on the other side of it, the experience is that I've had growth over the last few years, because this happened about 20, we wrote our last check about 20 months ago, something like that.
Okay. I wondered I was going to ask you how long it was this. So this is a recent fact.
Yeah. And
it's still wrong.
Yeah, well, but what's interesting is the person I've become, the things I can do, the things I've done, and I'm going to do and doing, I guess, I would never have been able to do without having that experience. So the refiners, the community started because somebody had said to me, if I would have known you when you were going through this, I could have made it so you wouldn't have gone through it. And I just went, that was an option. And he's like, yeah, because I could have, anyway, he talked about some of the things he could have done. He goes, but it's, I was talking to somebody else and they were like, you need to start this group. And then it just grew into this company. But, I wouldn't, even saying that, I wouldn't change it. I mean, if it came up again, I'd be on the phone with that guy. Hey, remember this conversation because I want to get out of here. But going through it, man.
Still when you're going through it, but later realizing that it's turned you into this phoenix or whatever. And
but as weird as it sounds, it's like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And it's really weird to say that when you're like, oh yeah, man, I was, because people are like, oh, you were such a warrior. And I was like, early on, I was a warrior that was dragging his sword into battle because I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Tab. But I think it's so important that you wrote the book and that you're so honest in telling the story about how you felt, because even if people are not in as far down as you were, that amount of debt, people feel so alone and they feel like such failures. And I can speak for myself. People that know me know my story, that my mother had Alzheimer's. And so my husband and I were her primary caregivers. I moved in with her and I hired somebody to help me run the business. And it was a terrible decision on my part. And I spent the last 6 months of her life saving my business.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, when you're in the middle of your own thing, it's really hard to make good decisions. But I can imagine how you felt, but I didn't have $750,000 in debt. I mean, I had debt, but not that much.
Yeah.
But I learned from it.
Yeah. And the thing that I try to tell people is, be honest and upfront, because so often I come across people and they're like, I don't tell anybody this, but this is going on in my life. And it's really cool that you opened up about it. And I'm like, I opened up about it because it was therapeutic, and you need to do that too, because you need to find people that can help you. And right now, especially because of the pandemic and the economic uncertainty right now, that I feel really blessed that I was able to go through this pre-pandemic, because now I'm able to have a lot of empathy for people that are going through it, because it's hard. It's hard when you wake up every day and you're like, I got to go do something, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I got to
get out of bed. You don't even want to get out of the bed. The thing about now with the pandemic, Richard Mulholland, who owns Missing Link Presentation Powerhouse, when COVID hit, when the shutdown hit overnight, his revenue went to zero.
Yeah.
Because of the kind of business he had, and they had to scramble and reinvent themselves. But he made a really good point. He said, and I'm saying this to people out there who might be struggling because of COVID, and about figuring out a way to adapt and overcome. Because he said, for the first time, I had to succeed, but if I failed, nobody would have blamed me, because it would have been because of COVID. So it kind of gives you the freedom to do things, because it's such a high risk, and it gives you the freedom to do these drastic things that you would be afraid to do if life were all cozy and comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you talk about adapt, we need to adapt and pivot, and we need to be, not only okay with it, but have a belief in ourselves to do it. And, for me, I mean, honestly, our business at Calorie is doing great, but, I end up pivoting into doing refiners, which is completely outside of what I do. So, but what I was going to say is there's this restaurant I have a house overlooking the Puget Sound, and there's this restaurant right at the bottom of at the hill that is a fine dining establishment. Well, we can't go to restaurants here. I mean, it's all takeout, curbside, whatever. And, nobody's going to a fine restaurant because they're like, mostly I go for the experience, not so I can bring home a steak in a bag.
Yeah.
And so this restaurant, they started selling chicken sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
And they're a fine establishment, and they start just selling. We've got these chicken sandwiches, and they are phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And my assumption is when all is said and done, things get back to normal, because when people say this is the new normal, I just want to beat the freaking crap out of them. It's not the new normal, right? This is not the new normal. This is a sideway jaunt that we're taking as we get back to things. But when they get back to it, now they're going to have these basically two businesses. They're going to have this, their old established business and this amazing chicken sandwich business. So, and I talked to the guy, and he's like, I think he's looking at franchising it. So pivot.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And, I'll give you an example here. I live in a very rural area of Virginia. There's only like 30-some thousand people here. And we're very blessed to have two great restaurants here. And they both have adapted. One of them started, I don't know if they're still doing it, but back in the spring, they were basically like, you could order like the steak and whatever, but for you to cook it yourself, that you could order and go pick up everything, the raw ingredients, bring it home and cook your own gourmet meal. And I thought that was a great idea. By the way, hello, if y'all are ever in South Boston, Virginia, I'm going to put in a plug for my friends that I grew up with, Bistro 1888 in South Boston, Virginia. And the other great restaurant in our county is Molasses Grill in Halifax, Virginia. So I'm just plugging our local businesses here. But
Nice.
And we have to figure out ways that we can think differently and take a step back and go, okay, we didn't have these problems before. What can we do that help other people who have problems they didn't have before?
Yeah. And that's, the hard thing is that this is a learning experience for everybody. And nobody wants it, Yeah. And I know that because I didn't want mine, right? I didn't want it. But if we do it well and we do it right, as painful as it is, you come out the other side and it's pretty glorious.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. And the one thing about COVID, and now yours was different because it was you going through it pre-COVID, but the one thing about COVID is nobody wants it and it's hard, but everybody's in the same boat. So even the people that we think are the most awesome people and they've got it all together, they're in the same boat. They don't know what the heck's going on and they're trying to figure it out. And that's why there's so much opportunity for a lot of smaller entrepreneurs that you can connect with people who may never have given you the time of day before.
Yeah.
If you want to, whatever. Amy T. Meyer, who is in the audience, she's a friend of mine that I know through Steve Sims. And Brandon also is my friend through Steve. Amy's out in your area.
Amy's down in the South.
Oh, do you know her?
Where I grew up. I think so. I think she outside Tacoma, if I remember right.
Okay. Amy, text us in the comments where you are. And then Lou.
I grew up in the hood.
Lou, I was just on Brandon's podcast at 5:00, and I have to tell him myself, I was in Clubhouse and came across this totally unexpected conversation in a speed networking room that just opened up. I met Lou Ramirez, who is on here now. We met in this speed networking group and we were talking about our NASCAR team, and we literally might have been able to hook up a NASCAR sponsorship in that Clubhouse room that that I totally wasn't even expecting to be in. But all of a sudden my alarm went off. I'm like, oh my God, I have 25 minutes before I have to be in Brandon's podcast. I hadn't even showered. My hair was out of here. So I go jump in the shower. I put on my husband's shirt because I couldn't find any of mine. And then my hair dryer wouldn't come on. So I go, I run. I made it to Brandon's. And then I made it here. So she's in Parkland.
Yeah, Parkland.
Parkland. Yeah. So, but I'm just so glad, Tab, that you have been so willing in your book and through everything that you're doing to share your experiences with people so that they know they're not alone and that that there are people that they can learn from.
Yeah.
Tell us though how you got through it. How did you adapt and get through that?
How did I get through it all?
Well, did you make changes to your business other than doing maybe the bad decisions? Did you create new revenue streams, anything like that, or just kind of back up?
You make changes to yourself more than you do your business. I mean, there were things, there were times where, we were about ready to come up with payroll, or it was time for payroll, and, a week away, and we didn't have the money.
And you had 18 employees, right?
Well, this time I didn't. At this time, I think I had about 6 or 8, something like that. But we'd have this, payroll coming up, and it was where are we going to find the money? And then just like, changing the way we did it. I would find an opportunity, and I would tell people, the way we invoice is 50% up front and 50% at the end. And it was like, we did 50% up front because it was kind of a desperation move. And then people are like, okay. And we're like, wow, that actually works. People are actually going to give me 50% up front. And so a lot of it was that, but a lot of it had to do with, my separating myself from the business. I am not my business. I'm neither business. And when it first hit, if things were going well in the business, I was like, man, I'm doing great. Look at me, I'm feeling great. And then if it was bad, I'd be like, man, I suck. And you know what? The thing is, the first thing I had to learn is that my business could suck, but I didn't. Or my business was doing great, and maybe I was doing great, but I was not doing great because my business was doing great.
Yeah.
That I am not my business. But the key was, and the key to everybody, I think, is to remember that, make a really good plan for the day. And I mean, I had a good plan that spanned out far, but I really wanted to make sure that I did the day well. I just wanted to do the day, not tomorrow, just that day. And I would tell myself, tonight, I'm going to put my head on the pillow, and I'm going to look back, and I'm going to say whether or not things went the way I wanted them to go. I'm gonna put my head on the pillow, and I'm gonna be like, I did everything I said I was gonna do. So I leveled up. I did my part. Now there are things outside of my control. Can't control that, but I'm gonna do my part really well. And it's a gradual thing, right? You learn. There were things I learned along the way, like, we owed the $750,000 we owed was to 18 different creditors. It wasn't 2, it was 18. And I had to, the only one that the IRS was the only one that would have followed me if I would have filed bankruptcy. But early on, I felt beholden to these people, right? I was like, the money. I'm not into, I'm not living up to the agreement. I'm kind of crappy. I'm this, I'm that. And what happened is some of them pushed me so hard that they pushed me up against the wall, figuratively. And I would say, you know what, if you get out of line, if you don't do what I said I'm going to do to pay you back, nobody's going to get their money except for those guys, the IRS. I'm going to file bankruptcy. And what I started to learn is that in the worst situation, you have way more power than you realize.
Oh, wow.
And you don't have to give up your power. You don't have to be beholden to people because you're in a bad spot. You're actually, because we owed everybody the money, guess what? We were the bank.
They needed y'all. Yeah.
They needed me to solve the problem because if they wanted to get their money. And once I got that inside my head, I was like, oh, I'm in control of this. I wasn't a jerk, but I gained this power. I gained this belief. I gained this strength. And then I went at it. I mean, like I went toe to toe. We had a 6-month payoff with this hard money lender. And I kept them at bay for, I think it was 18 months with them threatening me. The only thing they didn't threaten me with was breaking my legs, but they said, we're going to show up to your business tomorrow with the police.
Wow.
To
Okay, fine. What are you going to do once you get it?
And I mean, I would just be like, I would just tell people, hey, work from home. And I would sit there and wait, freaked out, and they wouldn't show up because they just lied. And what I learned over time was that, even the hard money lender, who is absolutely relentless, like nothing I've ever experienced in my life, I learned that they were going to do it at my speed. And no matter how hard they pushed me, that I had to stand that ground. And those are the things you learn.
Well, and most people, even though they're not going to tell you, most people would have declared bankruptcy and they would have lost their money. So you're right. They needed you. I'm so glad, though, that you included stuff like this in your book and in what you're sharing now, Tab, because so many people just kind of give the fluff stuff isn't really a good word, but they don't give the down and dirty of how hard it was like that. I mean, oh my God, telling people to work from home and you sitting there waiting for them to come, it's like something you see on TV, I'm so glad that you shared that, though.
Yeah, there was some crazy stuff that went on, and being honest, just being completely transparent to people, I mean, every single email that hard money lender sent me was in uppercase. And it's threatening. And everything they did was like, we've documented, we're going to do this, you're going to go to jail, this is going to happen. And all those things, I mean, it just beats on you and it wears on you. And after a while, you're like, you reach a point where you're like, man, they haven't done anything yet. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can do. And so you start to grow. And my whole hope was, and when I wrote the book, I had it edited, and my editor was like, you need to take this out, this out, this out, because your book has an identity crisis. Is it a self-help book or is it an autobiography? And I just went, damn, that's my book. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Exactly. Are you
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. That's why self-published. You can do whatever the hell you want to do.
I'm doing what I want. People don't like it, I'll give you your money back. Give me one star, badmouth me. I don't care.
It's not like you're selling it to make $1 million. And it'd be great if you did, but it's not like, yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Just an amazing story. And this was, you said, like 2 years ago?
I thought it would last about a year. And one of the things I've learned over time is almost everything that I can come up with my most conservative view of what's going to take. And I almost can this is what it's going to take. And I can either if I'm going to, this is how much revenue I'm going to get from it. I can divide it by 3, and that's what's going to happen. As conservative as I am, if I'm going to say it's going to take me this long to do it, I can almost multiply it by 3, and it's going to take me 3 times longer. And I thought it would take me a year to get out of it. It took 3 years, and it was June 19th, 2019 was when we wrote the last check. Well, we didn't write a check. We ACH'd it, but
Man.
Yeah.
That was not even 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a lot. I mean, that last month, because we made this stupid agreement with the hard money lender, and we were paying out $15,000 a week for 6 or 7 weeks. And it was I was like, whose stupid idea was this? Who agreed to this? And it was me, but we did it.
Free, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it was that last bit was just a ride. And you expect, and we paid that last one off. I just remember looking around and looking at my the guy who was my accountant, who's now the president of the company. And I just went, where's the balloons? Where's the streamers? Where's the unicorns? I was expecting like we paid him, yay, a party and nothing, and you're like,
I'm active. You're like, ooh. So I'm assuming
go back to
you have
work.
the accountant as the president, so you don't have to ever worry about that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not want to get into this, but because it has been so recent, and I know that you have kids and everything, and you're married, can you talk about like the effect on, personal life, family life?
Yeah, that's something that people don't usually ask me about. But first of all my kids are older, right? And they were all, well, I've got one daughter who just, man, she's gonna freaking hang on and stay around forever. Get the hell out of here. And she's still here. I'm like, she's got stick-to-itiveness. Anyway, you talked about your mom. My mother had congestive heart failure and was dying during this time. Passed away I think it was April of 2019. So right as we were like coming out of it. And so, I mean, I was getting 3 hours of sleep a night. My wife was watching my mom. I was watching my mom. We were doing that. And I had taken some money out of the company for 3 years, but for the most part, I didn't take any money out. And so I was draining everything that I had. I was driving Uber to connect dots. And
I'm so glad you said that, though.
Oh, I mean, I'm like totally honest.
This is real stuff.
And I mean, I'm like doing everything I can. I mean, I'm working 40 plus hours a week, making nothing to salvage this company. And then I'm like driving Uber to make, to just like.
To be able to.
Yeah. And
jelly sandwiches or something.
And you're sitting in a car in Uber and they say something like, hey, so, what do you do anything besides Uber? And I'm like, oh yeah, I run a multi-million-dollar company but I don't get any money out of it. And here I am driving Uber. And every time I didn't say it like that, but I would say, yeah, I do this. And, and it would just be like this, why are you driving Uber? And I didn't want to get into it, but each time I'd have that conversation, I would be like, man, I mean, after a while I wasn't, but early on I was like, man, I am pretty much a piece of crap that I have to be out here driving Uber when I've got this. And
Tab, wouldn't it be so bizarre if somebody who rode in your car when you were driving Uber happened to be an entrepreneur who read your book or saw this or heard you on another podcast? Wouldn't that be so freaking awesome? If they were in a position that they needed help and they realized, oh my God, this is the guy that was driving the car I was in.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it would be funny, wouldn't it, if they'd be like, hey, but yeah,
but also because you were honest then and you're honest now, if there is somebody out there that was one of those people and now they read your book or whatever and they need help, if it clicks with them and they realize it's you, then they go, oh my God, I can do it. He did it. I can do it.
Yeah, that would be really cool. But that would have to be one of the 3 people on this earth that's read the book. What's the chances? Oh, okay. One of them is my wife.
3 people.
So, and me, so there's like 1 left.
Especially once they watch my blockbuster.
Oh.
There's probably going to be 2 or 3 people more that read. Well, I have to say that I love, and I may have already said this, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I love that your book is the real raw story. Too many books that even are like that I went through hell and now I'm this, even if they feel honest, too many of them, it feels like it's more the superficial stuff. And I just love that you're so brutally honest about what you really went through, because you never know who might read the book or who might hear this or see it on YouTube, or, you never know who might hear your message, Tab, and you could literally save somebody's life. I'm not exaggerating here, because I mean, Amy and I both work with helping to combat suicide. And so I'm not exaggerating. My grandfather killed himself when I was 5. My grandmother tried to 3 years later. And so I know firsthand that you never know what's going on in somebody's mind or in their house. And you literally could save somebody's life.
You know, the thing I would add on to that, and first, thank you. That's humbling to think that I could ever do that. Man, honestly, the first life I saved was my own. So,
yeah, you did it.
Yeah, but don't ever look, and I'm seriously, I'm like, no, and I will always tell myself I'm a nobody, but like, not a big deal, right? And if you want to reach out to somebody, reach out. I had somebody reach out to me last week. She's like, I read your book and it changed me this way and this way. I thought I was alone and this and that. And I emailed her back like within 5 minutes. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. And I was like, and I emailed her back and I'm like, hey, I'm just a dude. I'm not like some guy on a pedestal. And so, and I even told her, I'm like, that book was self-published. Yeah, you listened to it on Audible, but that just means I had enough money to pay an actor a voiceover to read the freaking book. It doesn't mean anything more than that.
You know what? I think I haven't listened to it on Audible, but you might even want to go back and read it yourself and put it on Audible.
Oh,
I think that would be cool, but
someday I'll read my own book. I will tell you this. I learned about this. Mm-hmm. Is that if a lot of people view if you are well known, like Steve Sims read his book, well known, right? That it's really cool because the author reads the book. But if you're not well known and you read your book, most people think, well, they're cheap. Yeah. It's like this conception. So I was actually going to record it. I got all the equipment, bought all the equipment, got it all set up, and I just went. And then I took this course to learn how to do it, and I went, man, I'm not doing that.
People didn't know Steve then when he did it. I mean, his clients knew him, rich people knew him, but the people who read his book didn't know him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I haven't done any of my past books. I haven't done the Audible thing just because I'm like, whatever. But this next one I am. My cousin is my co-author, and he's like Emmy Award winning and all this stuff, and I'm just me, Yeah. But I want to do Audible, and I want us to read the dang thing because, I just feel like it's different now. He might say, hell no. Yeah. No. I haven't talked to him, but the thing about the girl, the woman that reached out to you, people forget that we're all human.
Yeah.
They feel like nobody else feels like them. So for her to be able to reach out to you and to actually have this person answer and relatively quickly, it humanizes you and therefore makes her not feel as inhuman, if that makes sense.
Well, and we have to remember, here I have this conference, right? So I'm building this persona of being something, right? I mean, I build a conference and now look, I'm speaking with all these great people. Well, guess what? I built a damn conference. I can speak, right? Big deal. I write this book. Somebody views it like this. The thing is that all of our persona that we create is just a bunch of crap. It's just, I mean, I love Steve. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, Steve is a guy. He's a dude. Yeah. And that's what we always have to remember is ultimately it's just people, and we can create whatever crappy or beautiful persona we want. But at the end of the when I don't hang out with my grandkids, they just think I'm grandpa, right? They don't look at me, ooh, dude wrote a book.
Yeah. But that's the great thing, though, Tab, is that you're helping people realize, and Steve is helping people realize, because even though now he's famous, he didn't used to be famous, but even now, Steve is like, take me as I am, like it or don't like it, whatever, I don't care. And he doesn't care that he has misspellings in his emails. He doesn't care because that's who he is. And if you don't like it, go work with somebody else.
Yeah, get off the island. Yep.
Yeah. And so, but I just think it's great because it shows people out there that all of us are just human. And these people that are acting like they're somebody and all great, and as Steve says, leaning on Ferraris that they rented, they're full of shit. I'm sorry, but they are. And they don't have anything to back it up. But you have the real deal to back it up, because you went to the depths of hell and came back. And now look at what you're doing with it. So you go, who am I? I'm nobody. I was a failure, blah, blah, blah. But you did it, and you came back out, and you still have your business. And now you're building this conference. And who better for somebody to hear speak than you, who actually did it, who failed and overcame it, than to hear some dude up there, you know, with his hair and makeup and
I got the hair. What the hell are you talking about?
Thing, you know.
I got the hair. Come on.
Well, yes, you do.
Why you gotta be like? I mean, come on.
You don't have the makeup.
Where's my friend, man? Was it Brandon? Was that it with the hair? Come on, man.
Yeah, Brandon has a
Back me up. Back me up, man. No, but you know, you're right. You know, it's, you know, ultimately it's just people, and you know, the chances of me failing again are pretty darn high. You know, and hopefully it won't be colossal. But that's
I was just going to say, but if there's no chance of you failing, that means that you're not striving.
Yeah, and you know, it's, you know, I love what I do, and there's a risk. You know, I mean, this conference, you know, I've got more money into this conference than I think I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
And you know, it is what it is, because I'm playing a long game. You know, this isn't going to be the only conference we do. It's not the end of Refiners. It's not a one and done.
Well, I'm going to say, just feedback, live feedback. Go into the Refiner site. It's great, and I love it. But talking to you and seeing how raw it is, or I guess tabpierce.com, I feel like your site needs to right up front be more raw, because you are successful, and that's what people see. So the average person would never understand what you went through until they read down. Because I knew that you went through a tough time, and I knew that you could have, that everybody said that you shut down, but I didn't realize all of this. And I just feel like if you put more of that front and center top of your site, it helps more people, and it helps you, because it really differentiates you from everybody else out there. Because everybody, and again, I'm not criticizing the site or anything, but I feel like people need to realize the hell you went through right up front to know what you're bringing to the table.
So you're the second person today that has said that about that.
Oh my God, I feel so smart.
I think you guys are full of crap, but I'll look into it, because
because think of it. Think about the person that really needs you is somebody who already, they might not be failing, but they're already feeling like a loser, or they're feeling, and so you can read on there, you know, you were failing. Everybody said you should walk away, but it still feels like, if I were that person, I would feel like, yeah, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, maybe there's like a picture that you can put on there of you sitting there waiting for the people to come and break your legs or something.
Yeah. Maybe what I could do is I could just put a picture of me and then just have the lips move. I'm going to give that some thought. I am going to give that some thought, because that's a good idea.
Less marketing. And again, I'm not criticizing it at all.
Hell, you are. Yes, you are.
It's constructive criticism.
It's okay.
What I'm saying is that I feel like the visitor, the person who really needs you, will be better served if it is more raw down and dirty right up front, that they know, oh my God, this guy really does know how I feel.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at it. And the only reason why I'm not saying I'm gonna do it is because I'm not the one that controls the website, so I got to go convince a few people, but we'll see if I can convince them.
Like your wife? No.
Oh no, she's
I'm
Oh,
teasing.
but you know what? I got to tell you this because you asked something and I didn't really finish it. And it was about my relationships, my personal life while I was going through this. I asked my wife, out of everything that's in the book that was written, I get more comments on the fact that she wrote the first chapter in the book. And the reason why is because I had asked her, I said, hey, would you write a chapter on your experience as a wife going through this? And I remember reading it just going, wow, I had no idea you went through that. I mean, yeah, I mean,
So cool.
it was me just constantly pouring out just like this vulnerable and just like this blah, about all this stuff that was going on. And she didn't have that. She was always the strong one when she was like, oh my gosh, I think we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose everything. And I'm like,
Well, you couldn't say anything because then that would add to your burden.
yeah. And so I didn't realize it until after we went through it. And so I get a lot of comments from
I need
women.
to have her on here.
What's that?
I need to have her on my show.
Yeah, I can yell at her if you want. She's much better looking.
I need to have her on here and maybe y'all together sometime. I mean, see, I think the different viewpoints is so cool. Same story, same thing happened, but different people's takes on it, and that helps people understand.
Yeah. Are you going to be at the Speakeasy?
Yes, Scott.
So I signed up to go to the Speakeasy because I said something to Steve and he was like, you need to go to the Speakeasy. And I said, I don't go anywhere unless somebody invites me. Because I was like, hey, we're doing this testosterone thing, right? And so he like sends me the link. I'm like, damn, I got to sign up. I'm like, $2,000. Anyway, so I signed up. My wife and I are going to Colorado to visit our kids, listening to Steve's book. And she goes, I want to go to the Speakeasy too. I'm like, it's freaking $1,000. And she's like, are you going to spend it? So you'll be there and you'll meet my wife because she's one too. So
well, see, we follow each other. She and I were connected before you and I, but we hadn't really communicated. But Amy, who the one commenting that Amy T-Meyer, she's going to be my roommate there.
I'm going to have my wife as my roommate.
Brandon will be there. I'm pretty sure. Brandon, correct me if you're still there and I'm wrong. I'm like 99.9% sure he's going to be there. People are awesome. This is going to be my 5th one.
That's awesome. And you know what? I'll put in a plug for Steve. And I hope he's not listening because I really, that guy's head is so damn big as it is. The last thing I need to do is he needs it just to be bigger than it is. But you know what? I'm just getting involved in this community that he has, his tribe or his whatever it's called. Man, I love these people. It's some great people. And you're one of them. Amy's another. Of course, I'm one of them now too.
Oh yes,
the Mohawk dude. What's with the Mohawk dude? I love that dude.
Amy said, "Party room." That's mine. Her room.
And our Mohawk guy. What's his name? Mohawk Mike? Mark?
Mohawk Matt. Yeah.
Mohawk Matt. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting to know that guy.
First show before I even decided to do a podcast, and Steve kept going, "You need to do video." And the thing is, Tab, I'll get on here and I don't care what I do. I have no shame, but I hate holding up the thing and being I don't want to just talk. I want to have a conversation. So I was like, I don't want to do video. And then I was like, oh, I got an idea. I can have Matt on because he was doing a lot of video just himself. I was like, well, I'll have Mohawk Matt on to talk about how he's using video and maybe then it'll give me some ideas for using video. And then I realized, damn, that was fun because it's just like sitting, in the room. And that's when I decided to start this show. And the funny thing is I had planned to do a podcast for like 3 years. I wanted to do one because I love podcasts, but I kept putting it off because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do it on. And mostly it's like, I don't want to do all that crap of doing all these shows far ahead of time, recording them and editing and blah, blah, blah. Because I'm more of an impulsive person. And then I was like, shit, I can use Facebook Live. I can't be my control freak side can't come out because it's out in the wild. It's like I just said shit, know, and I can't do that whole thing of being OCD. And so I started doing it in June, I guess. And I started on Thursday night. I've done it every Thursday night since, except for like New Year's. And then I was having so much fun. I added Tuesday night because I wanted to fit in more people. But then a couple weeks ago, I split that off. And so that's now Disrupt Your Now is what I'm calling that show. And this one is Adaptable Entrepreneurs. And so a little bit different theme. And then I have a co-host on that one.
That's awesome.
But I need to get you on that one because even though it'll be a lot of the same people, it's still a little bit different way of thinking. You know, it's a little bit more about just not adapting and pivoting, but okay, where are you at now and where do you want to be?
Yeah, well, just whenever I'm here. And you know, the one thing I will say is if people our age, I mean, you're a lot older than me because you're 59.
I'm older than you. I'm old as hell.
I mean, you're old. I'm still kind of young. But if people,
wait, you're my baby sister's age.
Yeah, is she single? I'm just joking because I'm married. I'm just joking my wife right there.
She just turned 57. She's too old for you, but she's married anyway. So
yeah, but if we can, you know, if our generation would learn to use video and do this stuff, we'd rule the world.
I know we would.
Rule the world.
Guess what? I didn't book anybody for the week of being in Arizona because I'm going to be in Arizona. So I was messaging with Amy and Tammy girl last night. I'm like, look, I don't want to not do the show because that disrupts it. So I was like, hey, let's do it from out there. Do the Facebook Live from out at the Speakeasy, like while we're out having fun. So we can all do it together. We'll just figure out what we're going to do. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. And you know what? Do it outside. I was there in November and I did a panel discussion with Darnell McDonald, who is a former Major League Baseball player, and Shea Hillenbrand, both of them going to be at the Refiners Conference. And I mean, we did it outside and it was beautiful. And I was almost more excited about being able to be outside in the winter or in the fall at the time than anything else. So yeah, that's a good
idea. I've only been to Scottsdale once. I was actually invited to be a speaker at a National Economic Development Conference out there. Went out and spoke about integrated marketing because I have a lot of economic development clients. That's the only other time I've been out there. So I'm looking forward to going back when I don't have to kind of be on my, you know.
Well, we're there that week, right? And then we go home for 4 days, get back on a plane because the conference is a hybrid. We're going to have probably anywhere from 20 to 30 people live.
Okay.
There, and then the rest of it will be online. And so I'm going home and going back to do the conference. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that you were doing any live. I thought live, but I thought it was all virtual.
No, because why not?
It is gonna be awesome. I've had you for over an hour. I know people are probably like, why does she talk so long? I don't want to watch her show because it's too long. And I'm like, just don't watch it then because it's my show.
Go to the bathroom.
I do what I want, right, Tab? It's my show. Don't watch it.
That's right. It's your show.
Okay. Tell people one last time, how can they get your book? How can they go register for the conference?
You can go to. I wish I would have had the link. You can DM me or whatever.
Or go to LinkedIn and look up Tab or
yeah. You can go on LinkedIn. You can DM me, whatever.
Yeah.
And find that. I'll give you a discount code for 50% off. I'll give you my book. I'll give you David Metzler's book.
Cool.
If you want it. Mine's way better, but his is pretty good too. I understand. But as far as anybody else that wants to get the book, it's on Audible, it's at Amazon. There's a free download at tabpierce.com.
Okay,
yeah, it's available. Find it.
So
cheap bastards go to tabpierce.com.
Wait, what?
I said the cheap bastards go to tabpierce.com and get it for free.
Tab needs the money. Don't go to tabpierce.com. Go to all the other places. He needs the money.
Hey, if you go to tabpierce.com, I'll send you a signed copy. Why anybody wants my signatures beyond me, but it happens.
So next Tuesday on my Disrupt Your Now show, I have Mr. Brandon Straza, he of the other hair. The other hair we were talking about is going to be on my show next week. And he is the host of the Mastermind Effect podcast. and he's starting a really, really cool business. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because you have to watch the show. But anyway, he's going to be on the show Tuesday with me and my host, Rachel Garrett Mercer. And Rachel is the sister of the NASCAR driver that I work with. And for all of y'all that don't know, I have to put in a plug for us. We are the only NASCAR team that races to combat veteran suicide. So if you want to be part of something awesome, and we're building, like, we have the youngest owner-driver duo. They're only 20, and I think Sam's 28. We're building this for the long run. We're building like a 15-year plan. So anybody out there that wants to be a part of a disruptive type of marketing, not typical sponsorship marketing, and wants to be a part of this and be part of something that you can literally market to an entire generation with, hook it on up with me. Thank you, Tab. I really had fun talking with you.
I did as well. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. See you Tuesday with Brandon. Bye.